we were very happy to be included in that. I was thrilled to see the mask. I was thrilled to see people being responsible. And I was really thrilled to be part of such an important statement. We've done other things too.
They say I'm a rapper, and I say no. They say what you doing, trying to do somebody cold. I just let them use.
We filmed some presentations. We had Bowser, who came to speak about Social Security. We all remember Bowser from a few years ago. He is the president of the Social Security Works PAC, and he is concentrating in Florida right now. He's been an activist since the 70s, and he gave a really great presentation. You can find that on our website. Steve Larson gave a very, very informative presentation, Oligarchy versus Democracy. Al Mitty, I think, was our first one on Viking economies. And then we had Steve back for the future of the USA. All four of these presentations can be found on the website, thevillagesdemocrats.com. And they're all short, and they're very informative. They're really interesting. We can go on to the next one. So we got a little bit of press over the past couple of weeks, thanks to Trump retweeting a video from the Villages. And that's what the first picture is. That's the AP picture that they came and took. And they weren't happy with most of my answers. I wasn't quoted in the AP article, but they used a really not good picture of me. And y'all know how I feel about having my picture taken. Jerry Van Leuven, you see here, phone banking and postcarding all at the same time. We had a contest between Citrus County and Sumter County making phone calls, and Jerry Van Leuven wiped away the competition by over 150 phone calls. She was a machine. She won herself a $50 gift certificate for her efforts, and she is the one to beat. We're going to have another contest, and we'll do that. I grew a ponytail. So those of you who know me, that's pretty impressive because my hair is usually so short. That's what I've done during the pandemic. We've had some Zoom meetings. The picture here is who I affectionately call the girls with a Z. And they meet every Monday. I pop in when I can. Using Zoom's a great way to stay connected with people. And I hope that you all are doing that. The last picture is Diane Foley, who phone banks while crocheting. And she actually, just the other day, crocheted me a little cozy for my teacup so I wouldn't leave wet spots everywhere on my desk. Diane is also a machine. She's been phone banking, I think, 3 or 4 weeks now, and she has a huge total as well. So thank you to all you guys who are working for us. I know with all the phone banking that you guys are getting a lot of phone calls, and I know it's confusing to figure out, you know, which one is good and which one is bad. There's a lot of scammers out there calling, and so you need to be careful before you provide information. But in general, if they're calling from the Sumter County DEC or from the Florida Democratic Party and they identify themselves as such, you know, those are our people. If they want you to volunteer with them, you say you're working with Chris. You're working with the Sumter County, the Villages field organizer, and you stay dedicated locally. Our biggest resource that we have here is our manpower. And when we start dividing our manpower, we can't accomplish as much. So when people call and ask you to volunteer, say yes, and then call me to actually do it. We always like to do a fact check. I pull these things usually off the Facebook. Sometimes I get phone calls. So this month, I got a phone call wanting to know why we weren't talking more about how Fox News is not an accredited news station and that they've been changed to entertainment, which means legally they don't have to provide any facts in their reporting, and that they're an entertainment show like Saturday Night Live, Laugh-In, Swamp People. And it ends with, you don't have to believe me, look it up yourself. So I did. It's not true. I notice more and more people will say, Snopes says this is true. Fact Check says this is true. And they don't, because it's not true. The FCC has no authority over cable news channels. There are no rules or licensing requirements in which any cable channel describes itself as news or as entertainment. They're all run by private providers, and the FCC has no authority to control their programming. With that being said, yeah, I wouldn't get my actual news from Fox News. They very rarely report in any sort of a fair and balanced manner. Facebook is also not a good place to get your news, but always check. Always check. When someone sends you something, don't accept it as fact. You know, look into it first. So Mary Frances has started a pro-Biden rallying group that are traveling around the villages. She will post on the club Facebook where they're going to be. This was the first one. This was a very positive rally, forward-looking, happy. I'm talking too much. A happy kind of rally. When we rally, we are living our democratic values. We are showing people who we are. We are trying to convince them to learn more about our candidate or our platform or us as a party. And so a positive outlook is so much better for these sorts of things. And yes, when we're out there, people will give a thumbs down or shout something, but we just blow kisses at them. They give us a thumbs down. They say Trump 2020. We blow kisses. We say, see you in November. Good luck. We bless their hearts sometimes. You know, bye, bless your heart. But when you engage negatively with them, you're not accomplishing anything. Can we go to the next one? When we protest or when we rally, make the message as salient as possible. It's a current event. It's something that's happening now. We are there for a purpose. And unite under that one banner. The anti-racism vigil, we saw a lot of Black Lives Matters. But then we also saw some signage that didn't have anything to do with anti-racism or Black Lives Matters. And it dilutes the message. When we rally, when we have a message, talk is great. Informing people is great. Giving them the knowledge is great. But nothing will ever happen unless we turn that talk to action. And that's sometimes the key part that's missing in rallies, particularly these days when there's not an awful lot we can do. But when you hold a sign that says Black Lives Matters, follow that up with letters and postcards and emails and handwritten letters to your legislatures. legislators and tell them why Black Lives Matters. Tell them why this is important to you, and ask them to do something, their vote or a public comment or something. Because of all the outrage over the past 3.5 very long years, we've turned into a reactive kind of group. Trump does something and we react. And so that's how he causes us to dilute our message. It's better to have our mission, to have what we want to get across, and stick with that rather than jump from one to another. And I know it's hard. I do it too. But when we're together, it's so important that we be the ones to make sense. That we are able to communicate our message in a calm and proactive sort of manner, and start that dialogue, start that communication, because that is the only way that we can convince anyone to hear us and act with us. Okay, next. So we've been talking about phone banking, and I just got information that we have a phone banker spotted in the wild who we can listen in while he does his phone bank.
Hello, is this Mary? Hi, Mary. My name is Al, and I'm calling from the Democratic Party to help you sign up for vote by mail. Well, yes, ma'am, it is important that we all vote in November. Can we count on your vote for Joe Biden on November 3rd? Oh, well, that's great. Let me tell you about vote by mail. Well, no, ma'am, you shouldn't need to crawl naked over broken glass to be able to vote. Well, sure, I understand that you would do it, but there's an easier way to vote. Let me, no, ma'am, I don't want to see the video of you crawling naked. Ma'am, I just want to encourage you to vote by mail. It's an easier way to vote. No, ma'am, I can assure you that your vote will count. We have teams of voter protection attorneys and staff to make certain that your vote and every vote is counted. No, ma'am, the only person who thinks vote by mail is fraudulent is Trump. And yes, ma'am, he's lying about that too. Trump and Pence both vote by mail, but they say it's fraudulent for others. So can I help you get signed up today? No, ma'am, I understand that if you had to walk through fire and a hurricane, you would still want to vote for Vice President Biden. And yes, ma'am, that's great that you'd wear a mask and you'll socially distance if you vote in person. But ma'am, with vote by mail, you don't need to wear a mask. Oh, so you'll vote by mail? Oh, that's great. You can call your supervisor of elections or go to that website and sign up, or we can mail you a postcard to get signed up. Oh, thank you for signing up, and thank you for your support for Vice President Joe Biden. Yes, ma'am, I'm calling every Democrat and likely Democratic voter in Florida to get them to vote by mail. No, ma'am, most phone calls are much faster than this one. Yes, ma'am, I can't wait until November 3rd either. Thank you and have a great day. Goodbye.
That was very well done, Al.
If we didn't do any testing, we would have very few cases.
That's what a phone bank is. I know that a lot of people say, well, I want to volunteer, but I don't want a phone bank. It's not scary. First, it's on the phone. And what Al just depicted is a very common phone call. You call, hey, this is Chris. I'm with the Florida Democratic Party. I'm calling to help you sign up for vote by mail. Almost always the response is, oh, that's great. Very occasionally, they'll say, no, thank you. And they hang up. And you know what? That's okay. You go on to the next call. You will have some of the best phone calls you will ever have in your life by phone banking. Jaylani Coleman, who is our regional field director, said on his first day to me, be inspired by the phone calls that you make. And I took that to heart. And I have very much enjoyed some of these conversations. It's not difficult. It's not scary. And yes, every now and again they hang up on you. And that's okay. Nothing bad will happen. We have another cute video for you, though.
If we didn't do any testing, we would have very few cases. They don't want to write that. It's common sense. So we test much more, many, many times. South Korea, you hear about? I spoke with the president of South Korea, spoke with many different presidents, prime ministers. They can't believe what we've been able to do on testing. They can't believe what we've been able to do on ventilators. We're sending them ventilators. Other countries, Italy, Spain, other countries, France is having tremendous problems. We're helping them with ventilators. We hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light. And I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. We'll get the right folks equipped. Right, and then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
That was Sarah Cooper. You get bored some afternoon, you go to YouTube, you look up Sarah Cooper. That was a compilation of a lot of her things. She's hysterical. Okay, good news. The Democratic office is open. There are rules. We're not putting in rules to be mean. We're putting in rules to keep everybody safe. Because again, I need your vote more than I need anything else. It opened part-time July 1st. It's open from 10 to 2. The doors are locked between those times. Don't come rattle the door. I'm not going to let you in. It's open 10 to 2. We will allow a maximum of 9 people in at one time. You must wear a mask to come in. Stay 6 feet apart, and you've got to sign in. That's not optional. If we find out later on that somebody who has come in has tested positive, we need to be able to trace everybody to let you know. When you come into the office, we have signs for your golf cart, for your windows, if you live in an area where you can have a window sign. We have buttons, we have bumper stickers, we have all the information that you're going to need for the primary. We can sign you up for vote by mail. We can sign you up, we can register you to vote. We can do all of those things between 10 and 2. From the time that we've opened, we've been busy. It's been really busy between 10 and 2. We are trying to have enough staff here so we can help everyone who comes in and still be able to stay well apart. So come in, check it out, see what we're doing, and, join up and help us. Okay. So Amendment 4, as you know, that's the restoration of rights for former felons. And the people in Florida overwhelmingly voted for it, which caused the Republican governor to try to put an end to it. It's another example of Republicans squashing the people's vote. It went through several lower courts and was upheld each and every single time. And in their final appeal, they brought it to the 11th Circuit and asked for a stay because they were afraid that actual ex-felons were registering to vote, primarily Democratic, and would actually vote in Florida, God forbid, and Florida might turn blue. Very sadly, the 11th Circuit did issue that stay, and I don't know when that's going to be lifted. The guidance currently is if a former felon has been registered to vote, they should vote. Currently, only register former felons who believe that they have paid all their restitution. We can still register them and they can still vote. I'm hoping that the stay is lifted soon. The August 18th election is right around the corner. They're dropping the vote by mail ballots right now. And the people voted. The people spoke loudly that former felons should be allowed to vote in Florida, as they are in almost every other state. So I'll keep you informed with that one, but as it stands right now, the 11th Circuit issued a stay. Trump is, as you know, afraid of vote by mail, and here's some reasons why. Okay, so it's not just vote by mail that Trump is hoping to suppress. The voter intimidation anticipated this cycle could be bad. I don't know that it's going to be bad in our immediate area, but they know that when Democrats vote, Democrats win. And so they don't want Democrats voting. They use different techniques to scare us away. If you are still adamant you're going to vote in person, when you get to the polls, you may find some in-your-face, loud Trump supporter people who are there solely to scare you and put you back in your car and cause you to drive home rather than vote. One of the ways to avoid this, of course, is voting by mail. But voter intimidation and voter suppression comes in a lot of different forms. There will be a boiler room set up for you to report anything that you see. If somebody is trying to keep someone else from voting, we need to know. During the primary, on my Facebook page, somebody had posted, if you're blue no matter who, then stay home. We don't want you voting. And that's somebody who had a particular candidate in mind and wanted that candidate to win. But that's voter suppression. That's still voter suppression. We're Democrats. We want everybody voting. You know, if I had my way, everyone would be registered to vote on their 18th birthday, and I'd be out there with cattle prods, making sure everybody voted. Be alert, be mindful, and report anything that you see that's out of the usual. So there are ways that you can make sure that you are 100% ready to vote. We have a video on the Facebook website under voter information that you can watch. But if you live in Sumter, go to sumterelections.org, click voter, click registration status, and it will show you that you're registered, how you're registered, and that you're active. After you send in your vote by mail, you can go through the same thing to make sure it's been received. You can check when it's been counted. Make sure that your vote counts. If you live in Lake County, you go to lakevotes.com. That's a very easy system too. They have a big tab that says vote by mail. Click that, you can follow it. If you live in Marion County, it's votemarion.gov. Same process. Go ahead now, check, make sure that everything is right, and get ready to vote. The vote by mail ballots are going to be arriving soon. I know that some people have changed their party affiliation in order to vote in the county commissioner Sumter race, but I'm not going to say anything about that except for on August 19th, I need you to change back to a Democrat. As we head into GOTV, get out the vote. It's important that I be able to track and find everybody and make sure that you have absolutely everything you need to be a successful voter in November. When you change from one party to a next and then back again, it moves you into a different category. And I just need to be able to make sure that I have everything that I need so that you all can be successful. August 19th, the day after the primary, I need you to change back to Democrat. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. So as we're heading into full cycle in the most important election of our lives, there's not an awful lot we can do. Typically at this stage, we're out knocking on doors and we're having conversations at the door, and we're communicating and we're getting that commitment to vote from people who may be risky voters. We can't do that this year. I don't know that we're going to be able to campaign door to door at all this year. And in order to get that personal contact, to make a connection, to communicate, we can only really do it by telephone and by our behavior. Telephone is good when someone answers the phone and you can have a discussion. You can get the commitment. You can talk about why it matters. You can tell your personal story and connect with them with their personal story. When I call someone who's in their 20s, I'm not talking about Social Security. I'm not talking about Medicare. I'm talking about affordable education. I'm talking about affordable housing, a living wage. We can connect with people on the phone almost as well as we can in person. But because that's really our only method right now, it's important in everything that we do in our day-to-day, how we live our values, that we put ourselves forth as the right option. So you guys know I always wear a political t-shirt. Some are nicer than others. But I do that because when I'm standing in line at Publix, someone might make a comment about my shirt. And it could be positive, it could be negative. but it gives me that opportunity to start the dialogue. And I have one shirt that says, I think, therefore I am not Republican. I tend not to wear that one to Publix because that's a hard dialogue to start. But when I wear a shirt that says vote, or when I wear a shirt that says register, show up, vote, or even my Villages Democratic Club shirt, or my Hate Has No Home shirt, people will comment. That's a great shirt. What a great message. And it gives me an opportunity to start the dialogue and explain why voting is so important and why I'm voting for Vice President Joe Biden, why I'm voting for Dana Cottrell, why I am voting for Dee Melvin. And frequently, these are names, at least with Dana and Dee, that no one's heard before. We're not necessarily the most engaged electorate in the world. And so because I can't go knock on their door and have a conversation, I take all those other opportunities. And I'm encouraging you to do the same. Put a bumper sticker on your car. Put a sign in your golf cart and welcome the conversation. When somebody asks why, tell them. Tell them why you support Joe Biden. Tell them why you're a member of the Democratic Party. Tell them why you're a member of the Villages Democratic Club. And start that dialogue. And if it goes well, you may have just brought us a new voter. And that, at the end of the day, is what it's all about. We need one more electoral vote than the other guy. And this is how we're going to do it. So we do, in very exciting news, have Mamie Dee Melvin with us today. Give us an update on her campaign. She's our candidate for Florida House 33, and she's a great candidate. Dee, are you unmuted?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So thank you, Chris, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I can't tell you how excited it was to watch you all stream across my computer screen this morning. Some of you I haven't seen in months. It brought joy to my heart. And I am so happy that today I am your Democratic candidate for Florida House District 33. And when Chris asked me to talk today, I thought, well, what could I talk about? I could tell you what we've been doing. We could talk about issues. We could talk about the need to fully fund public education and how the current legislation is not doing that. We could talk about healthcare and the need for that and how we truly need to expand Medicaid. We could talk about climate change and how it is real. It's not just a figment of our imaginations. And we could talk about how they continue to raid the public trust that is there to pay for affordable housing. They do that every year to balance the budget. And it's just so disheartening when our representatives do some of the things that we are so much against. There are just so many issues we could talk about, but today, I want us to talk a little bit about things that are so important to me, and I want to talk about what brings me hope today. Because for me, it's friends like you, supporters like you who give me hope every day. It's what drives me to get up and do the work I need to do to be a good candidate for you. And you wonder, well, what is there to be so hopeful about? And there is just so much, but today I want to focus on the marches and rallies that are going on around the world, not just in the United States, around the world, marches and rallies are going on. And what gives me hope, we've had rallies before, and they've kind of fizzled out. I think what's different this time is what made the 60s rallies different. And that is the groups of people that are participating in these rallies. We have people of all ages participating, little kids with their parents, their grandparents. And I would almost be willing to bet you my money that there are a few grandparents out there rallying with their great grandkids. it gives me hope. All genders, it doesn't matter, race, ethnicity. We have such a diverse group of people out there rallying. And it's like we finally woke up to how serious this is, and to understand that we have to seriously talk about equal justice. For everybody, it has to be equal justice. We're talking about police reform. Who would have ever thought that we would be talking about police reform and holding them accountable for what they do, requiring them to be transparent? Sporting teams are talking about changing their names. I lived in Washington, D.C., and that conversation was going on in Washington, D.C. back in the 90s. It's still going on. But this time, I think there's a hope that they might actually follow through. Because honestly, I would never have thought that I would see the day when NASCAR would remove the Confederate flags from its venues. I was totally amazed. And the biggest thing that gives me hope every day of all those things are the fact that Mississippi is taking down their flag. I didn't think ever in my lifetime I would see that happen. It brings hope and joy to my heart. Because today in this country, we're at a crossroads and we have a choice to make. We can make the choice to go back in time, or we can make the choice to go forward into the next decade. And not just the nation, Florida needs to be part of that movement. Florida has to make the decision to go forward and to make the changes that the people of the state need us to make. But to make that happen, we have to have new leadership in Tallahassee. The current administration is not going to make that happen for us. I'm more hopeful about the campaign. I truly want to be a part of the team that will lead us into the future. So today, I ask for your vote. You can visit my website. My website is votedmelvin.com for more information about me and about the campaign. Today, I ask you all, from the bottom of my heart, to join me and be hopeful. Thank you.
It's always great to hear from Dee. Dee is, it seems like she's always been around every day, but Dee became active in politics after that fateful day in 2016. And look at her now. I don't know that there's a project going on in the villages that Dee Melvin isn't somehow affiliated with. She is going to be a phenomenal representative. Can't wait to vote for her. We have Leadership Blue coming up. Leadership Blue is normally in Orlando, and the party rents a big hotel with lots of meeting rooms, and they put on all sorts of trainings, and they have interesting speakers, and it's a great deal of fun, but you have to drive to Orlando. Well, the one good thing that's come out of this stupid virus is that Leadership Blue is going to be entirely a virtual convention this year. And because there's no need to rent a big hotel with lots of rooms, it's even less expensive this year. It's never really been pricey, but this year it's even less. You can sign up at leadershipblue.com. On that website, there's a list of the available trainings and classes, which speakers are coming, and I can tell you that Vice President Joe Biden will be one of the speakers, and you will be up close and personal on your computer listening to him. I understand it's going to be interactive, and you'll be able to participate in the trainings, but also get your questions answered at the same time. So I signed up immediately. Dee Melvin beat me to it because Dee Melvin is involved with everything that goes on. And that's going to be something that a lot of people just normally would not have participated in, but you should. You're going to enjoy it. The tickets are, well, I've forgotten now. I think they're under 40, and for the wealth of knowledge that you get from it and the speakers that you get to hear, it is well worth it. So I strongly urge you to sign up for that. And then I'm going to leave you with a reminder. We used to talk about this, and then we haven't met. I have Comcast. I always use Comcast as an example because I have to call them every 2-3 weeks for something. And at the end of the customer service call, when the nice lady who just helped me said, "Is there anything else I can do for you?" I always say yes. Yes, there is. I need you to vote Democrat. That you will often end up with another great conversation. By saying that, it's part of the example. Live your values, represent who we are, reach out and connect. And so when I'm at the store, is there anything else we can do for you? Yes. You could vote Democratic. And it's, I don't know if it's working. I'll let you know November 4th. We are going to try to do another one in August. I'm hoping to be able to have a Biden campaign surrogate for you. We're working on that. But we are certainly going to talk about the 100-year anniversary of women getting the right to vote, and anything else that's interesting and timely and fun that we can come up with. So I thank you guys for coming to this. I know it's been a little weird. It's not quite the same as all being together in a big room, but this is what we have to deal with, and this is what we're going to do. I will see you guys again in August. We will try to come up with other interesting things to keep you going in between time. I'm always available to you. Come by the office between 10 and 2, or call me or text me or email me with any of your questions, and I'd love to talk with you. I miss seeing you guys. Have fun. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.